Welcome back to the Amanda Seals Show. It's Amanda Seals here, joined by DJ Nails. And we have two guests joining us. I really, truly wish this were under different circumstances, but we have Nicole and Courtney Mallery of Colorado, of El Paso, Colorado, joining us. And if you have been following me on Instagram, then you know that they are being terrorized in their town for basically owning land as farmers, as Black farmers, that people in the town apparently want. And they are utilizing the efforts of the police department as well as your neighbors, to my knowledge, to try to run you off this land and enacting all different sorts of terror. It's actually sickening and disgusting, the levels of creativity that they have come to and how they are enacting these ways of terror. And I would love if you could just give the folks some background into how this got to this point and what you guys have experienced. I think a lot of folks may not be aware of this because the media has not given it the attention that it deserves, and so we wanted to do it right here at the Amanda Seals Show. Thank y'all for joining us. So take it away.
Thank you for having us today, so that we can tell our story and get support from our community. We came to this point in terms of being in Colorado after being displaced after Hurricane Harvey. We pretty much lost a lot of our belongings, and our home was damaged. And I think during that hurricane, we started to really kind of think about our purpose and what we wanted to do in life as far as our goals. Courtney loves farming. We had a small garden and some chickens in the city, but obviously in the city of Houston, a backyard is not enough to be able to raise your own food and things like that. And I think it was in that moment during the hurricane when food was not accessible and people were scurrying to find just items because the shelves were bare, that we really took a long, hard look at what we wanted to do and what our dreams were. And I think that's where we kind of really delve into the fact that we wanted to have a ranch. Courtney is a rancher and a farmer at heart. He loves animals. And so we decided that we were going to purchase some land. And that was when we set on our journey to figure out where. We essentially rode around the country in an RV and went to different places and different states and different areas in terms of trying to make a decision of where we wanted to be. And I think we were always drawn to Colorado because it's clean air, the mountains were beautiful. Denver seemed to be a really nice place. I have a cousin here, and Courtney has a cousin here as well. And so in terms of our decision, I think we always say Colorado kind of chose us. The price was right. There was a lot of land available during that time. And so we embarked on a journey to try to figure out where that would be in Colorado after we decided it would be here. And so we rode around the state literally to different areas. This was actually our third property. And again, it chose us because the other places did not allow us to purchase for various reasons. USDA kind of wasn't available. And then there was another property we wanted. And when they found out we were African American, things changed. And so we always say that this property chose us. It is beautiful. We have a 360 panoramic view of Pikes Peak and the mountains. And it just we were drawn to it. And that's how we somewhat landed in Colorado. And we started on our dream of just owning land and having that space and being a rancher's wife, I guess. But that's kind of how we ended up here. And I guess we were here, and then like COVID hit out of nowhere, like as soon as we purchased the property. And so that was another sign for us that, we were living in our purpose. We grew chickens, we gave out food, we had a lot of eggs. So we were able to give the community eggs, especially the low income community, and that lacks access to those fresh foods. And some of those households where it's like multi generational. So you have like maybe your grandmother and then your mother and then children living there. And we embarked on a journey to save lives. And that encompassed delivering fresh foods from our ranch to those in need to keep them from going outside. And again, we're living in our purpose. We align with other organizations. We were able to provide them fresh organic meats from our farm, and they were able to provide other foods, and we were able to save lives in the community. And so I think that's how we ended up here,
Yeah.
if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
It was fine until it wasn't, I guess, if that makes sense.
And that's what I would love to talk about when we get back. When the shift happened and how we ended up where we are now. I mean, I think it's such a beautiful thing that you all had not only moved into the community, not only did you move into the community, but you gave to the community. So,
Mm-hmm.
you already demonstrated that there's benevolence and that there's an effort to be a part of this community. So for them to turn in this way is really sickening. And we're going to talk about Seals here with DJ Nails. And we are joined by Nicole and Courtney Mallery, who have a farm in Colorado, and their story has been taking off throughout the internet because we are learning that their neighbors and the police force have been terrorizing them in an effort, to my understanding, to get you all off the land. We were just talking about how they moved to Colorado and came from Houston. So shout out to our listeners in Houston, moved to Colorado and, to fulfill this dream and live in purpose and use their land to actually grow food, to share with the community during COVID. And then something changed. So what shifted to where this terrorism began by your neighbors?
Yeah. We actually come home one day and the road was blocked. The road was blocked with a fence, and animals were put out and they were on our property. And so,
we contacted the authorities, and then they had the individual take the fence down, but it was some opposition with that individual. She began to get out, just get kind of out of control, and just berate us and stuff like that, tell us to get out of here, and we on our own property. And it kind of,
she said we didn't belong here. We had no idea what we were doing here. She told us to get the F out of here. We stayed calm during that interaction, saying, I'm sorry you're having a bad day. Hopefully it gets better. And she told us basically to go to hell. She was very vulgar. She called us the N-word, said we did not belong here, and she was going to make our life a living hell. Yeah, those
Is
were
this
her
a neighbor?
exact words. And again, we said, sorry you're feeling bad today. Have a blessed day. In that moment, it wasn't lost on us where we were at that time.
Mm-hmm.
We understood what was happening. However, we decided to take the high road and maybe, hey, this is a one-off incident. But we knew that in that moment, boundaries were set based on the names that she called us and the things that were said. And we just
Is she your neighbor? Is she your neighbor?
Yes.
I see. Okay. And there had been nothing before this? Like she just out the blue just started acting a fool? Wow.
Yes. I think it was about the no word coming from Black people. And I believe it just was uncomfortable to be sold, no, you can't put your animals on our land and you can't block us off the road. She had made some comments before when we first purchased the property. She initially said it was her property, and asked us what we were doing there. And we politely told her we were the new owners, to which she responded that
I shoot dogs for some reason. That was the first words out of her mouth. I shoot dogs, and it kind of took us aback, but we were like, okay, ma'am, but okay, we own dogs and we're the new owners here. So, you know, I hope there won't be any problems between us. And, we just, kept on about our business.
right, we were still basking in what we had just accomplished.
Yeah.
It's major. We both come from inner city. So I think it was just, okay, we have a Karen over here, and we just recognized we did, and we just went on about everyday activity.
Right.
But I think apparently she had been coming onto our property unbeknownst to us and putting her animals on our property until we uncovered it. We have a lot of land. And so I think that we were taken advantage of to some degree, in terms of people free grazing and dumping trash and illegally hunting on our property, and things like that, because we initially didn't move on to the property. So there were still, some red flags and things like that.
Right.
But like we said, we just took it as a one-off incident. Okay, that's who she is, and whatever. You can't choose your family and your neighbors. So
you guys have reached out to the authorities, correct? What happened after you guys reached out to the authorities regarding this?
Nothing.
We
were told it was a civil issue, even though she was calling us niggers and being very threatening and things like that.
And trespassing.
Correct. But I guess that's how they handle things in the area. If you don't know them, like as far as the police, I just don't think you get service.
So you needed to show up with a basket of muffins and an apple pie and say, hey, police, we're here. Can you guys protect us, in order for them to do their job? That's basically what it sounds like. Well, when we come back, I would love to, when we come back, I know that it's gotten to a fever pitch, and I was so disheartened to see, Courtney, that you had been incarcerated by these folks, and that the police are now officially like working with them. It's one thing to be negligent, it's another thing to be complicit. So when we come back, I'd love to talk about that and how my listeners can lend their assistance and their help in, you all's fight against these people who are absolutely terrorizing your land in the tradition of America. Welcome back, y'all. This is the Amanda Seales Show. I'm Amanda Seales, joined by DJ Nails, and we have the pleasure of talking to Nicole and Courtney Mallery of Colorado. They are two Black farmers who are experiencing the terror of racism in real life in Colorado right now. And their story has been all over the internet, but it needs to be all over the media, and it needs to be dealt with in a actual real way by the authorities. But to my dismay, but also not to my surprise, we now learn that the authorities have actually been complicit in enacting this terror. Can you tell us more about what's been going on since the first incident with the Karen coming on your property to now?
Oh, yeah. So there were a lot of incidents. We were being chased off the road, followed. She would rev up the vehicle to try to, run us down.
She would make sudden stops in front of us and just terrorize us. I mean, in any kind of way possible that she could.
Correct. And then after that incident, maybe a few weeks later, our ranch hand was murdered. Again, we're new to the community. So we called the police and asked them to perform patrol checks on our property to just have a police presence until the murder was solved. Unfortunately, that never happened.
They laughed at us about that. They just pretty much, said patrol checks and just laughed it off.
Correct.
Like, yeah, right, like that's gonna happen.
And to date, the murder has still not been solved. So obviously, we're a bit more vigilant. And then it started to peak where there were more trespassers, and she had gotten very much more aggressive. There were guns pointed at us. She would follow us around the property. It culminated one night when I had the kids in the car right before Christmas, and she followed us around the property. And I did not know who it was because it looked like a male was running toward us and trying to attack us. So I told everybody to duck down, and we kind of, as a Marine, I kind of ducked down behind the door so that we would be protected because they were coming at us kind of head on. So I didn't want to be shot in the back. And so I kind of took a position in terms of protection for me and the kids. She ran up and eventually kind of blinded us with the lights. And I was able to make out, because she was screaming, that it was the neighbor. And she threw something, and I just kept screaming and yelling commands to stop. Please don't shoot us. Please don't kill us. Please remove yourself from the property. And she continued to charge. The police were called. They claimed that she was trying to be neighborly. This is the person that called us niggers.
That
Correct.
She's gonna make our life a living hell. Like, why would you even be being neighborly at this point?
It was a way for the police to not actually make this person be accountable for the threatening and the assault that they placed us in on that evening. And so that very next day, we both went out and took out restraining orders.
I think there's a lot of people who are like, we have a delay. I apologize. Go ahead with what you were saying about the restraining orders. Sorry about that.
So we took out the restraining orders. The police refused to serve them. So we had to get a private process server. And this is kind of what culminated even more of the aggressive behavior. The police told her to go get one on us. She went. It was denied because she told the truth. She then went and lied, and they granted it to her. And this sort of ensued the terror on our family. Anytime we would be on our property, she then utilized and abused the system to call the police on us anytime she would see us. And so she would call the police and say we were violating a restraining order by being on our property. She told them that she did not want us to come on our property on certain ways. And it just became this onslaught of harassment and terror with regard to our family, with the police somewhat joining in, essentially.
Because they didn't want to serve our restraining order, but they served her restraining order.
And then just basically telling us that although she was violating it, it didn't matter. And so they refused to even enforce it. That culminated on a night where she actually she was continually coming on our property, but this time she was actually caught by the cameras, and she damaged the property. She damaged the camera, destroyed the lights, and it was the middle of the night. And there was a female officer that came out that was different from the other officers that were protecting her, and she was arrested. And after she came out of jail, it was the lynching, the hanging, the burning.
Of our address on she put our address on a Facebook page, and
people started coming over to the house, blocking us in the gate. They started saying that They were going to burn us because they saw Black Lives Matter flags, and that they were going to do everything they could to protect her. And we were actually the victims. So I was very much perplexed, but it was eye-opening because now I realized what kind of community I lived in.
So
And that's what started happening. It was just a constant domestic terrorism on our family. They spray painted nigger on the barn and on the flags. They would steal the flags in the middle of the night. We had animals that were mutilated,
Poison.
2 dogs that were
Stolen.
poisoned. Just here recently, we have another cattle that's poisoned. It just became an onslaught of terror. And once she was arrested, there was a particular officer, Deputy Gearhart, who basically went on this vendetta against our family as victims to, I guess, make us be arrested for the same things that we were asking for help about. So he's basically tried to charge us 3 separate occasions with different crimes. First, it was harassment. Then he said we were hindering transportation. And the DA refused to charge us on those crimes. And now we're being charged with stalking for being on our own property. And
so I feel like a lot of
cameras
people I'm seeing are saying, well, why aren't they just fighting back? Like, why aren't they just, if she's coming on their property, why aren't they coming on their property? Why haven't they took out the guns and scared her? Why aren't they fighting these people and why are they letting this happen? What would you say to those people? Because I feel like that's really easy to say when you're not in the situation.
Correct. I'm a Marine and I have been fighting. And I think people that are not put in a situation like this, where the police will constantly charge you for utilizing your Second Amendment and protecting yourself, and they twist it. You have to fight smarter. And essentially, here's the thing. As a Marine, an 18-year-old, they armed me with weapons to protect every last person in this country, but when we came home, for some reason, I realized that because of our skin, it appeared that Black people aren't supposed to have weapons in their eyes. And so, again, it was eye-opening to understand, like, we are fighting. We fight every day. That's why we're not a hashtag at this point. But it comes a point where you have to think differently. So we can't say everything, but we are fighting. We're not just sitting there taking anything. We are fighting, but it's a different machine that we're fighting. Right. This individual, Gearhart, who has
he's corrupt.
His wife is a judge. This is a different fight. It is a different fight. And we have to fight in a way that we can still be free. Our freedom is everything to us. And as we saw, they illegally held Courtney in jail for no reason, and then increased his bail for no reason. And so this is not a simple fight. And so in order for us to fight, though, we have to be free. And they're essentially trying to trick us out of our freedom here. And I mean, this is not a new story, but this is a modern day, really, KKK assault against my family, which is being led by a deputy in the sheriff's department. And we got to fight differently. And that's what we've been trying to do. And this is powered by the people. This fight is powered by the people here. Everyone out there that has made a call, that has shared the story, that has made a donation, the people that have come out to the ranch to help us make repairs, that have camped on the land. That's how we fight, having a presence here, having more eyes and ears on the ground so they can't continue to lie and Karen us. How we fight is trying to get legislation passed The Karen Act is what we're trying to do here on this Friday with our protest, to make it a hate crime for Caucasians to weaponize the police on people of color for doing everyday activities. That's the only way right now to stop it. We can't get down in the mud and roll around with these people. This is a situation that has tested everything in us. They've been cruel to our animals. They've been cruel to us as humans. But we have to fight differently with this. This fight is powered by the people.
Yes, it is.
How can people help? How can people, continue to be in support of you?
Through GoFundMe, just about coming out, volunteering on the ranch, showing a presence out here,
making calls to the legislators to ask them to support the Karen Act, calling the Attorney General's office, calling these people in power to put enough pressure on them to get up off their hands and actually do something.
And hold these people accountable that we put in positions like deputies, like sheriffs and judges. They need to be held accountable for just falsifying arrests and just tormenting and harassing people, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that this has happened to.
Now, you guys, you can get the number to Governor Polis in Colorado on you guys' Instagram page at Black Farmland Owners Matters and Matter, at Black Farmland Owners Matter, and the governor's phone number's right there, so you're able to call. There's also the Cash App is there if you want to donate, and I'm assuming they can DM you if they want to come out to the ranch and be a part of assisting in repairs or camping and just being able to be visible, as well as you said there's a march that you're planning. When would that be taking place, and how can people come out for that?
That is taking place this Friday, 2/17/2023. We are going to assemble at the Denver Capitol, and we are going to be there from 9 a.m. to about 1 p.m. or so, or until we're finished. And we are going to ask our legislators to sponsor the Karen Act. We are going to demand an independent investigation into the hate crimes against our family. We are going to demand an investigation into the lack of service that we've been receiving when we call 911. And we're demanding justice for our animals. I mean, what has been happening to our animals essentially is disgusting. It's dishonorable.
Right.
And it's quite frankly very scary, because for people to, we're in a farming community, and every animal that they kill, they're not only taking from our plate, they're taking from people in the community's plate who desperately need food, who are counting on us to be able to deliver fresh food from our farm to their tables. And it's a cycle that hasn't been stopping. It's progressively getting worse in terms of the cruelty that they have been doing with regard to our animals. They're killing our dogs, poisoning our dogs, which we've had necropsy, and it's been confirmed that they are poisoned. And so our dogs protect our livestock. Our dogs guard our home. And so by doing that, they're trying to just encroach closer and closer on our home to do harm to us, and closer to be able to do harm to our animals. And this has to stop. We need justice, not only for us, but for our animals, for all farmers. Right. People are now scared to come to the ranch, which is Freedom Acres Ranch. This land is free, Freedom Acres, for everyone to be able to come, enjoy, get fresh food, fresh eggs, and they're essentially intimidating people from off of the property.
We've even had volunteers come out, and they've been harassed and here just recently, this past week, we had the police called on us about 10 times.
And we never left the ranch.
We never left the ranch.
We never left our ranch. And they were called on us, and there have been repeatedly. There's just been such an abuse of power here in terms of police not doing their job, not protecting and serving when it comes to our Black family. We are the only Black ranchers here in this area, but that shouldn't matter. We're farmers, we're Marines, and we just should not be treated so inhumanely, and our animals should not be subjected to this treatment. It's deplorable. I've been to foreign countries and I've fought for this land. And to be quite frank, I've been treated better in other countries as an African American than I have on American soil. To threaten us with hanging and lynching and have the ability to carry it out. It's domestic terrorism. It is a hate crime.
Yes.
And why
Absolutely.
the sheriff is choosing to look the other way is very disturbing.
That to me says he's condoning. You know, I feel like everybody that
complicit.
tries to turn an eye to racism is just out of their mind. Like it doesn't, like you can't. It's disgusting. It's really just disgusting. You know, it's hurtful. It's disheartening. You know what I'm saying? To think it's just it's hard.
I mean, farming is not an easy.
I genuinely can't even imagine. And, you know, I was like, well, let me see if I can at least use my platform to amplify what's going on. This is a time for those of y'all listening, all of you quote unquote good cops who are always very quick to come in my comments and talk about being good cops. This is when you show what kind of cop you are. This is when you head on out to Freedom Acres Ranch in El Paso, Colorado. This is when you go and you talk to your fellow order of fraternal brothers, and you say, this is not okay. This is when you demonstrate what a good cop is. All of our veterans who are listening, you know, you've got a sister right here who was in, what is it, Semper Fi? Isn't that the whole thing? You were a Marine.
Yeah.
Who are the gangsters of the gangsters? Okay, right? So I'm like, you know, this is when community doesn't just show up in race, but it also shows up in how you who are in these spaces take responsibility for where you have been and for where you want this country to go. I hope that we will see this alleviated shortly. I hope this lady gets everything that's coming to her and everybody who is assisting her in this tyranny. And I really hope that, you know, folks show up for the march on the 15th, which is on the 17th. The march is happening this Friday, the 17th at 2:00, you said?
Yes.
9 a.m. 9 to 1.
Sorry. No, it's early.
Yes.
All right. It's in the morning, y'all. So like get a good night's sleep, get your marching clothes on, and head on out to the State House, I'm assuming, in Denver, to join the Mallerys. And again, you can get more information on what's going on at Black Farmers Matter. No, that's not it. Hold on. We're going to edit this. One second. You can get more information on this at Black Farmland Owners Matter on Instagram. And I want y'all, if you're not going out to Colorado, pick up a phone, call the governor. His number is right there in their bio, and let them know that you do not stand for this to happen in this country. You do not stand for this to happen to Black folks. And you don't stand for this to happen to farm owners. Y'all are the salt of the earth. That's what the whole thing is. Look at the hat. Look at the hat.
No farms, no food.
That's pretty.
Well, you all, I'm wishing you so much strength and so much love and light in this fight. And I will continue to use my platform in any way I can to continue to amplify your story. And I'm just wishing you safety and sending love to you and your family. And shout out to everybody who's already been out there helping. We really, truly, appreciate you, and community is all we got. Thank y'all.
Thank you.